Well, welcome to my favorite part of this fellowship launch kit. I'm going to be talking to you about small groups. Now, I've had the privilege of doing small groups for over 35 years of my lifetime, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I do believe lives are changed best when it's done in community. So what I want to do is I want to tee up 7 parts of this video in this section to help navigate you through some of the common things you're going to need to address in small groups. And then I've got some other great resources that will help take you even deeper in planning a systematic approach and a strategic plan for your church over the next 12 to 18 months. But let's kind of jump into the overview real quick, and at part 1, let me just get into it. Now, since 1998, I've had on my wall at my office this slogan that says, "Vision without implementation equals hallucination." And part of that is so true. A lot of times churches are made up of senior leaders who have a ton of vision. But if you don't implement it, you're not going to see the results that you're going to want to see. And one of the beautiful things is that when God created the church, He created it temple courts and house to house. Now, not to insult your intelligence, but just give you a quick overview of the importance of small groups and how God designed them in the church, is that in the New Testament, you have 4 Gospels where Jesus gives His vision and mission of what He wants done. And you'll see it accentuated in 5 typical verbs that we talk about in fellowship, discipleship, serving, evangelism, and worship. They're stated at the end of Acts 2 when the church is birthed. They're talked a lot about all through the New Testament. They're prayed in John 17. Paul reemphasizes them in Ephesians 4. But the most common places we see them is in the Great Commission and in the Great Commandment. And it's from those 5 verbs of the Great Commission and the Great Commandment is that we instill them into our small groups. But outside the Gospels, then in Acts 2, you see the birth of the church. The first part of Acts 2 is the temple courts part, where 3,000 get saved. The last part of Acts 2, you see the house-to-house movement, or the small groups, and that is, what are you supposed to do? And so when you understand the role that temple courts and house-to-house play together, and I'm going to give you an illustration in one of the other parts real quick, but when you understand that you'll see that the rest of the New Testament, that when the church was at its optimum best, it was doing 2 things: temple courts and house to house. So always what you want to understand is that when you're looking at the overview, understand how God designed the church. Now, I totally get that all throughout the centuries, the church has had a masterful way of complicating what God set up so simplistic. Don't fall into that trap. We're going to start you on a process to help you understand how you can help your church be optimized to the best of its ability, making disciples of Christ by doing 2 simple things: temple courts and house to house. Proverbs 21:5, I love this verse in the Message. And it says, "Careful planning puts you ahead in the long run, but hurry and scurry puts you further behind." And sometimes hurry and scurry can be good things that stop you from doing the great things. Sometimes hurry and scurry can be all kinds of excess programs in your church. But planning will always put you ahead. And part of what I want to do in this small group section is being able to set up for you how we can help you plan the best way possible. Now, before we move too further, there's always a language barrier that when I'm talking to people about small groups, because people come up to me and say, is it Sunday school or is it small groups? And part of what I want to say is it really doesn't matter. I don't care if you call it Sunday school, small groups, cell groups, beer groups. No, don't call them that. But I don't care what you call them. What I do care is what that grouping of people produces. And we're going to talk about that in the next part. So hang with me and jump with me as we go, and we're going to tee up some questions that you're going to need to answer in your church.